Hello, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Jerome Wilen, a news reporter for Wrestleview.com.
We are back. Wrestleview News is back. Episode number 7. We are here. We are excited to be back. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a crazy couple weeks of WWE in the time of quarantine. And wow, I really thought, Jerome, that news was going to slow down a little bit.
It has not. It is still coming in.
Coming in fast and furious, as they would say. Yeah. I'm not talking about Vin Diesel and The Rock either.
No, John Cena, since he's going to be Furious 9.
That's right. You know, I always forget about that. Yeah, John Cena also is involved in that. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, he is.
So there's that. Wow. Okay, so Jerome, there's been stunning stories, like really all week. From sad news about Alberto Del Rio, which we'll get into in a little bit. Something that really kind of disturbs me quite a bit.
Sick.
What's that?
It's sick. It's just disgusting.
It really is. It really is, and I have some things to say about that for sure. To really happy news and kind of shocking news as well because of how it rearranges everything with Becky Lynch getting pregnant and relinquishing the Raw Women's Championship. But first, right as we were about to start taping this, a bombshell hits. I don't know if it's really fair to call it a bombshell, but a really surprising story. And a guy that was just used on SmackDown last night. Now, granted, I know that last night's episode of SmackDown was actually taped on Monday. But he had what many are calling, including Roy Nemmer, who recapped SmackDown, a sort of match of the year candidate against Daniel Bryan in an empty performance center from the Intercontinental Championship tournament. Another thing that we have to talk about as well. Drew Gulak's contract expired, and Drew Gulak his profile is now on the alumni page. What is going on? Drew Gulak is a free agent right now.
Right. He doesn't have the 90-day no-compete clause because his contract's expired, so he's free to go anywhere. He could show up on Dynamite next time they do live tapings.
Which I think is this Wednesday. I think they're going live every week.
Well, they're doing every other week.
Okay.
So next week they'll be live. So he could show up on Dynamite next Wednesday night.
He definitely could. He definitely could. I mean, because you have Double or Nothing coming up next weekend, which will be recapped by our dear friend Josh Boutwell, who is one heck of a recapper for AEW. Yes. He'll be recapping Double or Nothing, which is on Saturday, May 23rd.
Right. Empty Daly's place.
At Daly's place. And the stadium next to it, too. They're going to have Stadium Stampede there.
Yes, that's interesting. It almost makes me want to buy it.
I know. I'm actually very curious about it. I mean, I loved. Well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I loved the first Double or Nothing. I'm very curious to watch it as well. Yeah. And in Jacksonville, that might be the most action that stadium gets because their team isn't really that great. Anyway, Drew Gulak, because his contract expired.
Right. So can he do the name Drew Gulak, or is that copyrighted by Vince or trademarked by Vince? Do we know?
Is that his actual name, Drew Gulak?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
I'm looking that up right now.
Okay, I'm just going to look it up. Yeah, go ahead. I don't know if that's his real name or not.
No, that's his real name. So he's good to go.
I see you can use it. He's free to use it.
He can absolutely use his own name.
Okay.
So Drew Gulak has been with the company since 2016. They signed him out of Evolve to be part of the Cruiserweight Classic. That's what the tournament was called. That original Cruiserweight Classic, which was actually, for what the Cruiserweights are now, that was an excellent tournament. That was like a little gem that they put on the WWE Network, and they had like Kota Ibushi in it. They, a lot of the guys that are on 205 Live now as well. Akira Tozawa, Rich Swann was part of it, and Rich was. He had a great showing in that. Cedric Alexander, the same thing. So many of these guys that are on 205 Live now, where they're kind of like diminished versions of themselves, where like, this is like the potential, and you can really see it on the Cruiserweight Classic. Gulak signed from there, was like a mainstay on 205 Live. Whatever they asked him to do, he did it. He was the PowerPoint guy. He was the no-fly zone guy. He was Cruiserweight champion for a time. He actually won it at Stomping Grounds, I believe, in Washington.
Yep.
Right down the road from you, or not really right down the road, but close.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes north of me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And now he was involved in a really well thought out, one of the better storylines that they have going in WWE right now. Thing with Daniel Bryan, where he's kind of like helping Daniel Bryan get his edge back. You know, helping Daniel Bryan get the groove back there. And
right.
and he and Daniel Bryan had an excellent match last night. And the contract expired, at midnight pretty much. Now again, the two sides have been working on a deal, but nothing was reached, and it expired.
Somebody's gonna get in trouble.
You would think so. I mean, I get it. It's it's a pandemic and all that stuff, and it's hard to communicate. I'm sure, and I'm sure there's might be a lawyer or two involved. I mean, I certainly would have a lawyer look over my contracts, and
right.
It's got to be tricky to get all this stuff done. I mean, I know what it's like just to coordinate things for my job. And and I'm sure the same for you. Like having to do everything virtually is tough.
It can be.
It's almost surprising that they didn't ask for an extension to kind of negotiate a little bit. But and we're not saying we're not saying that Drew Gulak is actually going to be going to AEW or anything like that.
No.
But he could if he wants to. He could go to New Japan if he wants to. He could just sit at home and just make no money and do nothing for however long he wants. He's a free agent. He can do whatever he wants. My gut instinct tells me, and I want to hear how you feel about it as well. I feel like he's going to resign very, very soon. I think before they tape next in 2 weeks for Raw and SmackDown again. They taped 2 episodes of Raw, 2 episodes of SmackDown this week. I think he's re-signed by the time the next tapings roll around.
Yeah, I think he will be again. If not, he'll be. If they don't re-sign him, I'll go out on a limb and say he'll show up at Double or Nothing.
That would be something. I mean,
in that buy-in show.
Yes, either that or he might show up in like an actual. I mean, because he's if anything, Drew Gulak has been kind of like Buddy Murphy in that sense, where like he's a great talent. Does whatever you ask him to do, and if anything, Drew Gulak has the added bonus of being a really great talker.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He can carry a segment, and he can be funny. He can be serious. He can wrestle. He can commentate. There's a lot that this guy can do. He's a marketable guy.
Right.
And who's to say right now that Tony Khan and Cody aren't calling him right now and just saying like, well, what were they offering? We'll double that, or we'll match that and then some.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me either, because that would actually be a major get. A guy that just went toe to toe with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, been involved in a great storyline with him. All of a sudden, it would almost be like, Lex Luger showing up on Nitro, but not as big a star, obviously. But like that's about as close as we could possibly get to it, because the reason why Luger showed up on Monday Nitro all those years ago was that they just allowed his contract to expire, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to resign with you guys. Don't worry." And then he walks out at the Mall of America on the very first Nitro, face to face with Hogan.
Yep, I remember watching that episode. Yep, I remember his contract expired on that Sunday, and Monday night he shows up on Nitro, and I'm like, "Whoa, hey!"
It's incredible, and I mean, Vince McMahon held a grudge against him forever after that, including like when they bought WCW. He was one of the people that he singled out, other than, I mean, I'll never forget when Vince did the JARRETT is FIRED, fired, or whatever he said.
Yeah, GONE, gone, or something like that.
That was it. Thank you, Jerome. Yeah, GONE, gone. I don't know how you get your voice to do that. I really don't. It's incredible. But so, I mean, Luger showing up on Nitro, Vince held that grudge forever, and then obviously Luger made himself really persona non grata with everything that went down with Miss Elizabeth, which
it was sad.
That was really sad. Which that's coming up. Oh God, almost 20 years ago now. It's so wild how long all this stuff. How many greats have gone and how long they've been gone for.
Yeah, I just saw the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring with the Road Warriors, and Road Warrior Hawk. He had that cocaine, heroin lifestyle on top of drinking, and it caught up with him after he got his life straight and turned around and died of a heart attack in his sleep at 46.
That was that was a rough story. I really loved Hawk, and I thought that was like, there's been a lot of terrible things WWE has done. Like, what pops to my mind obviously is Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
What they did in the aftermath of his death. Just exploiting it to Kingdom Come, and there's still people to this day that will defend. There's really no defense. There really isn't.
Right. Yeah, and then Vicky Guerrero, she's remarried. She's signed to AEW now in a contract, and she went, I think, on some podcast and said that she's basically been blacklisted by WWE. They want nothing to do with her now, and just like stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if she signed with them, but I know that she did a commentary work with them for Dark one day, just AEW Dark.
Yeah. Well, she actually appeared on AEW an episode a couple weeks ago. She actually appeared on one of their shows. They did the Bubbly Bunch with Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle. She actually showed up on that. So
that's cool.
She's still there doing something.
She's doing whatever anybody pays her to do. She'll go for it. But WWE exploiting Eddie's death and all that stuff, it was terrible. But I think right up there in the top 5 of some of the worst things that they ever did was the thing they did with Hawk when he was when he relapsed and on the show and they had him falling off the Titantron or whatever it was.
They covered that in the Dark Side of the Ring, and Animal said that he didn't like it. He was against it, and Paul Ellering was against it, but they went ahead and did it because that's what they were told to do, and they were under contract.
It was horrible. And actually involved in one of those things was Droz. Darren Drozdov, who was paralyzed in the ring. I wonder if they'll ever do a Dark Side of the Ring about him.
Yeah, he was interviewed during that episode about how he didn't like that, angle. He didn't like doing it.
Yeah, that was a terrible angle. That was really rough to watch, and some of the more unpleasant memories of WWE.
Yeah, but next week on Dark Side of the Ring, the season finale, they're going to do Owen Hart.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff coming up about Owen Hart. I'm going to have a story up in a little bit about Martha Hart did an interview with Chris Jericho where she talked about the lawsuit with WWE, the wrongful death lawsuit in Kansas City, and how Vince McMahon sued her to move it to Connecticut to try to avoid the damages that they would have to pay.
Yeah,
that's some pretty sleazy stuff.
That's disgusting.
And again, that's another thing that's like, it's just unbelievable that happened as well.
Right.
So, anyway, Drew Gulak is a free agent. It's really surprising news. I don't know if it'll stick, but we will obviously continue to follow the story as more becomes available. Jerome, what's next on the docket?
Becky Lynch is pregnant.
So she is.
Yes, and she's got a T-shirt called The Mom that you can buy for $30 on www.shop.com.
$30 on the www.shop.com.
$7.99, but by the time you get tax and shipping and handling, I'm sure it's 30 or more.
I could spend a lot worse on www.com, including Vince McMahon puppets. And I have my WrestleMania 36 chair has been shipped, so I will have my WrestleMania 36 chair. I've been doing like a big like wrestling autograph collection lately. I just got this in the mail today.
Oh, look at that! Whoa, look at that!
That's Rhythm and Blues.
Yes, I remember that tag team.
Honky Tonk Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Jimmy Hart all signed. Even though I'm kind of pissed that the Greg Valentine autograph got a little smudged. But what can you do? I will have to hunt him down in whatever Waffle House he is at and have him re-sign it.
Yeah.
But that to me was super surprising news.
Yep. That news was broken earlier in the day before that. The Raw aired because it was taped earlier in the day. Right. So, it was blowing up the internet.
It did. And it is legitimately big news. I mean, I think of all the superstars that they have pushed in the last 5 years really, really hard. It's Roman Reigns, and I'm talking super, super hard pushes. Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre. I almost said Drew Gulak. Drew McIntyre.
Right.
And Becky Lynch.
Yep.
And Becky Lynch, in many ways, was, for 2019, the biggest star that they were running. I mean, by far. I mean, she was on the posters for everything. She was headlining, house shows and pay-per-views. She was the first, part of the first group of females to ever main event WrestleMania, along with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair.
That's right.
And she had held the title for over 400 days.
Yeah.
And since WrestleMania 35, and I really thought they were switching the title at WrestleMania 36 to Shayna Baszler, but they didn't. So I really thought that, like, okay, well, they're letting her hold on to the title because there's so many built-in feuds still to go. You could do a thing with Bianca Belair, which would be really good. You get Nia Jax in there again for SummerSlam as the face breaker. There was a lot of like money left on the table there, but obviously there's nothing you can do because it's just nature, and that's what it is. It's a really nice thing for both her and Seth Rollins.
Yes. Right.
But
yeah.
It really upsets their whole entire all their storylines that they probably had planned, and really that Raw women's roster, which they did a lot of improvements on, at the Performance Center, moving up Bianca Belair, Nia Jax coming back,
right.
Even Natalya. There was stuff to do with Natalya still, I'm sure. And Shayna Baszler, that rematch with Shayna Baszler was obviously on the horizon as well. To now it's a big toss up. Asuka is the champion. She relinquished the title to Asuka, who won Money in the Bank.
Right.
Now what?
Yeah, I don't know. They have to rewrite everything, I'm sure.
It's a tough deal. It's a tough deal for them, but a great thing for Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, the happy father, even though he didn't look too happy on Monday.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's due in December,
right.
And obviously it's a big question mark if she ever comes back full time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that happening for a while.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she would be back before, I doubt she would be back for WrestleMania.
Maybe SummerSlam next year, or may not even be at SummerSlam. It could be Survivor Series.
It very well could be. She might take a full year and a half off, or even more than that.
Yeah.
Or maybe wait till the baby's first birthday, or she just might come back for like one like final farewell tour and retire at WrestleMania 38. Like, who knows what could possibly happen?
She could.
But their biggest superstar in essence is done for now, or maybe possibly forever.
Never know.
That's a pretty big deal. Big deal. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, if this happened back in the 90s when everything was the Wild West, there'd probably be a Dark Side of the Ring story about this whole entire thing as well.
I'm sure.
But it kind of shows just how far WWE has come with their performers and kind of finally treating them like they're human beings.
Yes, they need to do something.
Yeah.
Keep their superstars.
Absolutely. Like they let Roman Reigns, obviously, they're not mentioning him on TV, that's for sure. And they cut him out of video packages and stuff like that, but
that's stupid to me, but
yeah, I know it's kind of petty, but at the same time, it's like, well, they allowed him to take off, for the COVID, during the COVID pandemic, partly because he's, his immune system's compromised and his wife is having twins.
Yep. Yeah, she had the twins in March, so they've already been born.
Right. So they're newborns. You don't want to be bringing anything home to them.
Right.
And yeah. So, but at the same time, also while they've been good to their people, Sami Zayn, the Intercontinental Champion. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So they stripped Sami Zayn of the Intercontinental title, but Brock Lesnar, who doesn't wrestle very much, they keep the title on him? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, they have in the past for sure.
Yeah, and then Sami Zayn doesn't want to perform because of the COVID-19 issues, and they just strip him of the title. So it's not fair because they haven't done it to anybody else. So I don't know why they're doing it to Sami Zayn.
Yeah, that's a tough deal. And as for the Lesnar thing, I'm sure it's like a contract thing, and he's a star, and I guess they figure you don't need a world title on your show, but you need the Intercontinental Championship for
right.
whatever reason.
I guess Sammy's not a star.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. We're not going to hold anything against, like I remember Triple H and Stephanie all saying, we're not going to hold anything against anybody who doesn't want to perform right now. Well, Sami Zayn chose not to perform. Yeah. And he's been essentially kind of punished for it. In essence.
It's wrong.
So, yeah, it's just another, kind of like makes you scratch your head a little bit when you hear all this stuff happening.
Head scratcher for me.
Yeah. So they started up an Intercontinental Championship tournament, which Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak were both a part of last night. So Drew Gulak was a contender for the Intercontinental Championship, and now he's a free agent. Just putting that out there. So
crazy.
So there's another major story that we kind of have to talk about, and I'm reluctant to talk about it because it's
makes me sick.
Disgusting.
Alberto Del Rio.
Alberto El Patron.
Yeah.
Arrested for, and we have to say alleged,
yes.
Because right now, I still do believe in innocent until proven guilty, but this is not a good look.
No.
This is not a good look. Del Rio has had trouble for quite some time, so in essence, on the day of Money in the Bank, May 10th, it came out that Alberto Del Rio was arrested that Saturday night in San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
On charges of, it was a second-degree sexual assault, I believe it was, right? Jerome?
Yeah, I think it was. Just disgusting. His career's done.
Yeah, and he took like the craziest mugshot I've ever seen. He looked really, really scary in that mugshot.
It's a good thing Paige didn't marry him. What a sleazebag.
Yeah. So, okay, so essentially, the sad details, and I'm just pulling up the story real quick. I should have had it open already, but the sad details are he essentially kidnapped and tortured this woman for, in essence, of nearly 12 hours.
Yeah.
From like 2 a.m. Actually it was over 12 hours.
Yeah.
Let me just pull this up here real quick. Okay, so this is whatever. So his real name is Jose A. Rodriguez Chuchuan. So we'll just call him Mr. Rodriguez from now on.
Yes.
Arrested for alleged sexual assault on May 3rd in San Antonio. This is broken by an NBC affiliate in San Antonio and TMZ Sports. According to the police report, he assaulted this woman multiple times. So, I mean, the details that came out about it were very, very overwhelmingly disturbing.
Yes.
I'll read a few of them out for you. He accused her of the victim, the alleged victim, of being unfaithful to him. So he smashed her phone, attempted to burn her passport. The attack began around 10 p.m. on May 3rd and concluded around 2:30 in the afternoon on May 4th. So that was over 12 hours. He tied her with box ties, put a sock in her mouth, which impeded her ability to breathe at times, and sexually assaulted her with, and this says, with his penis and other body parts, which that's just horrible. And the report absolutely emphasized that it was not consensual.
Yeah, it's awful.
He threatened to drop off the woman's child, just take the kid and drop him off in the middle of the road and somewhere where she won't find him. The responding officer said there were multiple bruises on her. She was photographed. She said she was afraid. Del Rio he was charged with aggravated sexual assault and domestic violence, which is a second-degree felony. Bail was set at $50,000. He made bail, so he is free. And I can't believe they even let him go, because to me, he's got to be a flight risk.
Yeah, right. I would have had no bail.
I know, especially with the severity of the crimes. I think just the fact that he held her for that long and essentially tortured her. I think that's that's pretty terrible. If that is true, which to me it sounds like it is.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of issues. Mr. Rodriguez had obviously well publicized relationship with Paige,
Yeah, that was a problem.
That was terrible, and really that set Paige's life back for quite some time. She really, they were both feeding into each other's drug habits, and he was really a terrible influence for her.
Yeah.
And so that set her career back quite a bit, and robbed her of essentially a year. She was suspended. They were going to get married. She was showing up on Impact in a luchador mask, and he was getting proposed. He proposed her in the ring, and just craziness upon craziness. And then as all this stuff came out, there was another report that Del Rio had been in a bar fight and was released on a $20,000 fine.
Yeah.
So he's been having severe major issues for quite some time, and it's kind of shocking how big a turn his life took.
I know.
At one point, he was like their next, Rey Mysterio in being the next Mexican superstar that they have.
Yeah, he did pretty good in Impact in this short run, and he was in Ring of Honor for a short period of time. And
yeah, but for WWE, they pushed him when he debuted in 2010. They pushed him to the moon.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They had him win that 40-man Royal Rumble in 2011. He
had
a world title match with Edge at WrestleMania. He'd been the world champion multiple times. He left, I believe it was in 2015, came back in 2016, and basically, he was there for a short second run, but he defeated John Cena in his first night back for the U.S. title. So they've always had, they've always held him in great regard and treated him like a superstar. And, it's what just a stunning and sad and all too familiar fall from grace that could happen in professional wrestling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole story just really just bummed me out. Just made me angry. That
yeah, it's disgusting.
How he's it's one thing to like make your life into a living hell. It's another thing to bring another innocent person into it. That's the part that bothers me.
Yeah.
And I think about that PSA commercial that he had done with his son when he was in WWE. Reading the bedtime story to him, and it was like a really nice scene. And it's like, well, how is that kid now? How is that kid today?
Right.
A little older and seeing how his father is.
Yeah. Ugh.
Pretty terrible. Pretty freaking terrible. Very sad. Oh, yes. Jerome, let's move on.
Sure. I guess we could just briefly mention that Backlash is returning after being gone. May 16th of 2018 is the last time we saw Backlash. It was in New Jersey at the Prudential Center.
I was there.
Yeah, and so it's coming back June 14th, probably in the Performance Center with nobody there, or maybe a limited group of people, depending on what the governor of Florida does between now and then. So we'll see.
yeah. I have to imagine. I think there might be at least some people in attendance for that one at that point. But in terms of the rest of America reopening and having people there, it's kind of a toss up when that's going to happen. Moving back to arenas is not probably not going to. I can't imagine, Jerome, that we'll see people in an arena before mid 2021. Who knows?
Yeah, I know it's hard to say. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of states are holding out for a vaccine to, be implemented before anybody feels comfortable going out again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm gonna pause for 1 second. So if you're watching this video, there'll be a brief little pause. I have to say goodnight to Liliana, so I'm just gonna pause this recording.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. You won't even notice a thing. It'll just pop on, but I'm going to have to pause for 1 second. All right. So, see, I told you didn't notice anything. And if anything, it's just the screen just kind of glitched for a second. I always have to say goodnight to my daughter before she goes to bed. It's important to me. So Backlash is returning. So that's exciting. We're not sure when the heck people are going to wind up in an arena, but
right.
It is kind of getting. If they could pull that off and just practice some social distancing in the Performance Center, get some people in there just to make some noise, I would be beyond thrilled.
AEW does it with wrestlers and I think probably family members as well in Daly's place, so why can't WWE do the same thing?
Exactly. Well, because if they do the same thing, well, then damn it, we're copying them. Well, I'm not copying AEW. They're blood and guts. They're really?
Yeah.
Really? Pretty sure that we saw some blood from Rey Mysterio's eye on Raw on Monday. Blood and guts, blood and guts. That's every time I see blood on WWE TV now, I always go blood and guts, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm calling the kettle black.
Yes.
It's okay when they do it. It's not okay when somebody else does it.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So what's next, Jerome? What do we got?
Let's see. I'm going on my list, and I still can't find Chris Jericho or Kevin Owens on my list, but that's okay. So
the list of Jerome.
Yeah. So I guess we could briefly mention Su Yung and Crazy Steve signed to Impact contracts. Tasha Steelz signed to Impact contracts. So Su Young's married to Rich Swann. Crazy Steve was in Impact years ago. Tasha Steelz was in the National Wrestling Alliance. So,
I gotta tell you a funny story about that real quick. When I was writing up those stories, I am so like disconnected on anything Impact Wrestling. It's almost like I can't believe that we still cover them. It's like they're like such a non-entity. I mean, I know that they've done a turnaround, but it's almost like there's just it's hard to wash off the stink of like all those Dixie Carter years and constantly changing channels and being kicked off a channel on Spike TV.
Right. Now they brought back the TNA World Championship, and Moose is their TNA champion. It's like what?
Because Tessa Blanchard doesn't want to doesn't want to perform right now.
Yeah. So she's stuck in Mexico.
She's in Mexico and she's not able to perform, and so they're bringing back the TNA stuff right now. So that's what they want to do. It's like we want to go forward, not backward. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's one thing like okay, well crown an interim champion and then have the two people face off to determine the ultimate champion at that point.
Yes,
kind of like the old double intercontinental champion story, or
right,
or even like what they're going to do at the cruiserweights with a double cruiserweight champion at some point.
Right,
Jordan Devlin's allowed to come back.
Yeah.
Anyway, my funny story about Impact. I'm so disconnected from them that I was looking at their tweets, and they said, Su Yung has re-signed the Undead Bride.
Yes.
And then they go, after vicious negotiations, Susie has also re-signed. So initially I was like, who is Susie? So I was actually I put that in the headline. I didn't publish it, thank God. But I was like, oh, and Susie also re-signed with the company, and she signed blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, Susie and Su Yung are the same thing.
The same. They're one and the same, yeah.
Got it. I was like,
yeah,
right.
I know. Well, it's like Impact Wrestling. They have an identity crisis, so.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, who are you? Impact with that goofy upside down exclamation mark, or Impact Wrestling?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They really do have an identity crisis. It was funny. I remember when Josh Boutwell recapped Hard to Kill earlier this year, and he put at the beginning of his recap, he goes, "If ever there was a more aptly named pay-per-view for a company, Hard to Kill has got to be it."
Yeah,
like, they are hard to kill. Impact is like a cockroach, but where like a cockroach can survive if you cut its head off.
Right.
Impact has had its arms, head, legs, they're all cut off.
Right, it's like a Twinkie. It never goes stale, I guess. But the product is stale.
It's something. It's something. I mean, from getting kicked off of Twitch because of the Rob Van Dam. Oh my God.
I know they're back on Twitch again, but
I know. No, I know. But like even the fact that happened is.
I know. It's so stupid. It's like, really?
It's like so Impact. It's so Impact.
I know. They can't be original.
Crazy.
What do you say? I know.
Amazing. Anyway, Jerome, what else? Move on.
So, Boston Celtics center and Enos Cantor? Yeah, he's claiming he's signed he's offered a WWE contract. So
right.
Yeah.
So Enos Cantor is a. Well, I'd like you to put a little more respect on his name, Jerome, please. He is a former WWE 24/7 champion. I'll have you know. He
is.
Yes.
I guess I'm late to the party. I didn't get that memo.
Whoops. Yeah, no, he actually is. He appeared on on the main event, WWE main event, which was taped at Madison Square Garden when they made their big return for Raw and SmackDown. So he was on the Raw portion of it, and he beat R-Truth for it, and then R-Truth rolled him up. So he is a 24/7 champion, and it's like one of those like he very well might make it in wrestling, Jerome, because wrestlers always tell tall tales, and I'm sure somebody told him backstage, "Oh, you did a great job on that roll up. You could be a wrestler." And he's like, "Yeah, they offered me a contract." It's like,
yeah, I know.
They're not doing anything big money right now while all this is going on.
Right. I know.
Unless they released all those people a month ago to free up money for Enos Cantor to come in. Right.
Yeah. Ooh, sure. Yeah.
Tall tale.
Yes. I guess In Your House is coming back too. Old pay-per-view, June 7th is coming back again.
That was that I actually got kind of excited for. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I always liked the In Your House look and theme, and I'm really hoping that like they can figure something out to break out the old set.
Yeah, they might. Hopefully, it'd be good nostalgia.
Yeah, they have it in their warehouse. Just throw a couple pieces in a truck and send it on down to Florida, or tape it in Stamford.
Right? Why not?
For goodness sake, get that set out. I just love that set, the house, and I remember like Shawn Michaels swinging off it. It's like a lot of great memories tied to that place.
Yeah, I remember those pay-per-views on Tuesdays. They did them on Tuesdays.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, how about Jerome? You want to tell everybody the story? I love that story about the house. So they hooked people in with the promise that you could enter a contest and you could win a house.
Oh,
you didn't? Do you know about this?
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah. So they apparently like for the very first In Your House pay-per-view, they called like there was like a sweepstakes or whatever. You put your name in it, and you could WWE would give you a house.
Huh.
And like it wound up like the contest was won by like a kid who put his name in the hat. He was like 11 years old. He obviously couldn't win the house. The whole thing was a debacle. It was very indicative of WWE in the mid 90s trying stupid stuff and screwing it up.
I don't remember that.
There's a reason why, because it was stupid. It was like the McMahon's $1 Million Mania, and him calling up that one guy and getting the Rick rolled, and oh god, all the schemes they've tried through the years to get people to watch. It's amazing.
No. I guess next is the dismal AEW NXT ratings.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, at a certain point, you have to kind of stop blaming the virus coverage on what's going on, and just kind of say like, yeah, they've if anything, NXT was there not so much to beat AEW as to just whittle away at their audience.
Yep. And in
that case, in that sense, the war was won by WWE.
Right.
And it was a cheap tactic and a really lame thing to do.
Yes. Yeah.
But the ratings are atrocious for them. So I when I did the ratings, because they were actually pretty good. Good, for coronavirus in the time of coronavirus. I mean, right. I mean, we could say just across the board. It's not just AEW. It's not just NXT. Interest in wrestling has just completely been obliterated.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a far cry from the 1.2 million they had when they debuted.
Yeah.
And now they're averaging 600,000, 650,000.
Yeah, about. Well, they had 732,000 last week.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
I wonder what Warner Media thinks of those dismal ratings.
Well, you know what? I can't imagine that they're that upset, because who knows what they would have had in that spotlight right now. It's live television, and right. at the end of the day, ratings are down across the board for everything that's not a news program.
Right.
And the thing that all companies really want to get is that much vaunted 18 to 49 demographic, and even though their viewership is shrinking, they are still, placing high in that list. So they were at number 15 this week. Last week they're at number 12. They are consistent. NXT most weeks doesn't even make the top 50 in cable programming.
Yeah, NBC Universal can't be happy about that, or maybe they don't care. I don't know.
It's possible that they don't care, that NXT is not really making a lot of money for the company to begin with.
Right.
That like their contract essentially is worth not much at all to the company. It's just getting them on TV. That was the main goal.
AEW and trying to with their audience.
But so I did a little math and viewership for both shows combined. So their combined viewership the week before to this week dropped 10%. Yeah. That's pretty bad. And really there wasn't anything going on Wednesday that could really explain that. There wasn't any huge breaking news that, stuff that hasn't already been talked about ad nauseum on the news media. Right. Nothing enormous happened in terms of virus coverage.
No, there wasn't. It was the same old news, so yeah.
Same old stuff. So
Yep.
It's kind of you can just tell, like you can look at the Raw ratings since moving to the Performance Center, Raw, which is like which has always been the number one program in wrestling.
Right.
They are averaging about 1.9 million viewers. But every week it keeps going down and down. What's that?
I'm sorry. Raw's Monday night rating was 1.9.
Yes, yeah. This week it was because they had the big announcement from Becky Lynch. But but overall, since March 16th when they had their first show, they are averaging 1.9 million.
Yeah.
SmackDown, which obviously everybody talks about how they debuted at 3.8 million, and then dropped a million, and they kind of leveled out around 2.4. They're not. Yeah. They're not doing so hot either since moving over. In fact, they dipped below 1 million last week, so they had to do something to kind of change things up. I think that the ratings were a big case into going against Sami Zayn, because it's like people, I see a lot of people complaining about tournaments, but there are a lot of people, including me, that love tournaments.
I like them myself. I enjoy that. I like it. It's old school for me. I like it.
Yeah, they love tournaments, and there's an Intercontinental title tournament now in SmackDown, which that's guaranteed viewership because you want to see who advances in the tournament.
Right.
They have Otis, being the Mr. Money in the Bank. That's gonna create some curiosity. He's a fan favorite, or at least the last time they had fans, they liked him.
Yeah, and now you got Dynamite. They've got that tournament for the TNT Championship, which is just a stupid title for me. It's dumb.
You got to keep the people happy. Got to keep the people that sign the checks happy. I kind of like it. It's better than just saying it's the TV title. But
I would prefer TV title. My that's what I would have called it.
I like the idea of a TV title as well. But I guess TNT Championship allows you to at least put it on pay-per-view every now and then. And obviously there was a big headline that came out that Iron Mike Tyson is making his return to professional wrestling to present the TNT title to either Cody or Lance Archer.
I'm gonna go with Lance.
I would think it's Lance as well, and I hope Jake gets a DDT in there as well.
Gabby just was yelling in my, not yelling in my ear, but she's saying in my ear over to my ear, "It's Cody. It's gonna be Cody."
Well, she's the AEW super fan. If anybody has their finger on the pulse of what's going on in that show.
Right. Yes.
It's toss-up. I mean, I even enjoyed that tournament. I really enjoyed the Dustin Rhodes retirement tease and stuff like that.
Right.
I like Lance Archer. I like the partnership with Jake the Snake Roberts especially. Well, I'm just a big Jake the Snake fan.
Right.
In fact, I got his autograph too somewhere in here. That came in the mail too. But his autograph is kind of depressing. It's because it's like one of those pictures where it's like. It's Jake at his lowest. You can kind of tell he was like kind of heavy set there. Not really a good look.
Yeah. But now Gabby, she likes Jake the Snake. She had to show her some old footage of him in the WWF days. So yeah. But yeah, she's over here in my ear telling me it's gonna be Cody still.
I really enjoyed obviously we talked about we talked about Jake the Snake. Oh, there she. You got to come over a little more. You're out of the frame.
There she is.
There she is. Oh, I still can't see her. Lean over.
Yeah, there she is. She's all in my ear about Cody.
There she is. Well, one day we got to get you to watch the blindfold match with Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick Martel, which is one of my all-time favorite wrestling matches.
Oh no!
For whatever reason, just because Jake the Snake is a super, he was super with crowd psychology. So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think it'll be Cody.
You think it'll be Cody?
I'm a huge fan of Cody. I want Cody everything.
Are you excited for Double or Nothing?
Yes, I want it.
Ah.
Really bad. Like, every time we watch AEW, I'm like, I want it.
We got to talk to the old man here. We got to, Jerome, what are we doing here?
We'll see.
We got every
We'll see.
AEW pay-per-view except for Revolution and Fyter Fest and Double or Nothing last year.
Well, Fyter Fest was free. That was a free pay-per-view.
You tell me that.
Didn't know.
Now you know. You can actually probably just go back on the Bleacher Report app and watch it if you want.
Ooh.
So now we're down to just one that you haven't seen. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
She's on it. Well, good to see you, Gabby. As always, our super fan of AEW, all things AEW.
Yes.
Everything.
So real quickly, why are they bringing in Mike Tyson of all things to? I don't just know.
Well, there was like I forget who it was that put out. They offered Mike Tyson money to get involved with their promotion. I forget right off the top of my head. It escapes me right now. But he has been like talked about as coming back in wrestling to do a wrestling match for charity.
Right.
So he had some interest, and I guess they called him up. And Mike Tyson, you know, he likes money, probably needs it.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a good draw. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he worked wonders in 1998, and it's funny enough. I just recently finished the retro recap for WrestleMania 14, and then that news came out, so got me excited.
I'm wondering though if they're going to have him in an angle or something and turn on Cody, or say Cody wins the TNT Championship, he presents it to Cody, and then gives him a punch in the face, and then he and Lance Archer double team him. I mean, I can see an angle like that happening.
I mean, that's if Mike Tyson's here to stay for sure. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I'm kind of hoping that because last time we saw Mike Tyson in wrestling, I believe it was at he was the guest host when they were doing that horrible guest host thing with Raw.
Oh yeah, right.
And he knocked out Chris Jericho on that show. So I'm kind of Jericho is the king of the callback.
Yes.
like I remember even when he did an angle with Dean Ambrose, John Moxley now, years ago, where he got slammed in thumbtacks and had his jacket ripped, and like a year later they were both on TV, and Jericho was like, "You still owe me $10,000," or like what he just never forgets.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be great, like if Jericho walked up to him and was like, "Hey, you son of a bitch, you knocked me out."
Yeah.
So I got my eye on that after Spring Stampede or Stadium Stampede.
Right. Yeah, that's piqued my interest. I'm almost tempted to want to buy the pay-per-view, but it's
I gotta say, like they do a really great job of promoting in advance. What you're gonna see on these shows and making them something that are worthwhile to see.
Yeah.
I remember in February they had like a whole slate of things heading into Revolution, which was like Cody in the cage. They had an Iron Man match. They had a big tag team elimination thing or tag team battle royal, whatever it was.
Yes.
They plan ahead because they have their storylines written in ahead, and everything's not just reactionary, and that's the difference. I think that's what makes them very watchable and very enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, the Stadium Stampede's thinking outside the box, so they got to do something right now to have those pay-per-view buying numbers go up.
Absolutely. So, I mean, WWE has the cinematic match market cornered.
Right.
So, but the Young Bucks, Cody, Chris Jericho, they're all creative guys, and Matt Hardy as well. I'll throw his name in that hat as well. They're all creative guys, and I believe that they're going to continue to come up with some stuff that is innovative and worth wanting to see.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's that. So that's Mike Tyson. He's coming in.
Yep, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Joe, how are we doing on the news here?
Doing okay. So the next real quick thing I guess we could cover is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and Emily Blunt. Movie called Ball and Chain that will be on Netflix, and it's a movie that the two of them, they have these superpowers if they learn to put their differences aside and work together. And so I don't really know. Maybe one of those feel good type of movies. I have no idea.
Cool.
Yeah. Moving on.
You got nothing there.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like something I'd watch.
Yeah, I don't even have Netflix, so it doesn't matter to me.
But
next thing, King of Fighters All-Star mobile game. I guess Netmarble in agreement with WWE or doing this game where you can upload John Cena, Undertaker, Becky Lynch, Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins to this game. I know nothing about the game. I had to Google it because I'm not a video game guy. So
yeah, I never heard of it, but apparently, there's a partnership. So it's WWE kind of allowing another company to kind of use some of their trademarks, which is kind of interesting. Something that they don't generally do.
No, we gotta do something for revenue.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and then the last thing I had on the list was we were talking about ratings before. It's SmackDown ratings. It's 2.043 on the overnight ratings, and so we'll see if that holds.
Yeah. We will see. We will see. Now, there's a few other things that are out there. Like one of them that I thought was really kind of interesting and just the complete pettiness of it all was former WCW announcer Chris Cruz, who was part of like the B team of the WCW announcers in the 90s. I think he was like one of the commentators on that dreaded World War III Battle Royal or whatever they did. 60 people.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but there was a delay there, I think, on my end. But it was the WCW Power Hour. He was the play-by-play guy on that.
Right. And so he's I don't know what he does now. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's kind of like got this gimmick where he just likes to make fun of all his Facebook followers. Just whatever. He's been out of wrestling for a long time, but he still fancies himself a reporter. And he apparently was appalled that that AEW allowed Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega to do barbed wire and this and that at one of their events, which it's their idea. They agreed to it. They most likely they came up with a lot of the ideas. It wasn't like management was saying you got to jump in that barbed wire. I don't give a damn if you're scared of it or what it does to your body.
Right.
But there's a thing in Maryland, the Athletic Commission, which still for some reason regulates professional wrestling. He issued a complaint to the Maryland State Athletic Commission, and a $10,000 fine was levied against AEW. And he's saying, "Oh, this is going to be a black eye for AEW and this and that." It's like, dude.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Are you
Whatever.
dreaming?
Yeah, I know. They probably already paid the fine, so here you go. But it's like, why now? That pay-per-view was in November.
Well, he filed it he filed it like shortly after in November, but it took that long for everything to kind of like come out. But just exactly. What a goof. Like there are people. I mean, I get it. You don't like it. That seems like a very Jim Cornette-ish thing to do.
Yeah, he's probably better. No, he didn't get signed by AEW, and Tony Schiavone did. Right.
I mean, he probably saw that they were bringing back, a lot of the old timers, especially when they did that thing in Memphis. He's like, well, why not? Why not me? Damn it.
Yeah. So, Chris Cruz, who?
Yeah, I know exactly. That was like the last thing that I really wanted to get in there because I haven't had a chance to really talk about that. I just thought, how dumb is that?
What an idiot.
What a fool. But on that note, Jerome,
yes,
we're back in the saddle at Wrestleview News.
Yes.
Now that everything's taped, and usually it's like, because WWE and AEW are the only shows really running right now. I don't know how much news we'll have to talk about next week, but every time I say that, some other crazy breaking news story happens. Yep. And like we said, as soon as we went on the air, or moments before we went on the air, Drew Gulak's contract expired. So craziness abounds in the world of professional wrestling in the time of COVID-19. And me and Jerome will continue to follow all of the stories. I can assure
we
you of
will.
that. And if you're watching us for the first time, please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed to us. I know that I watch a lot of YouTube, and there are certain channels that I enjoy going to and watching their videos. Some of them I have not subscribed to just because it just never crossed my mind. So please subscribe to us. It would go a long way. We are almost to 1,000 right now, and that would mean that would mean a lot to us if we got to 1,000. That changes our channel in a big way. So please continue to support us. Continue to go to Wrestleview.com. We're gonna have Post Raw is gonna be on Monday. Wrestleview Weekly with Doug Lackey is gonna be on tomorrow, where Doug is taking 4 shots of tequila, which is crazy. Because can't lock the entire pay-per-view and not pay for it, I suppose. We're looking to be back with Wrestleview News, and Josh Boutwell will be covering Double or Nothing next Saturday at night. So we will get a lot of stuff coming up on the website. Continue to follow us. We appreciate your readership. And on that note, I'm Mike Tedesco.
And I'm Jerome Wilen.
Have a great week, everybody. Take care.